Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to wrap up today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's comes at us from Kevin. Theatrical post-hardcore that goes all over the place. Blends a lot together with interpolations of other songs, but also kind of messy. Looking forward to learning what's going on here. We're going to be checking out the artist Set to Stun, which I think I've seen the name in passing, but I don't believe I've ever checked anything out from this group. We're going to be looking at the track Death of a Dreamcatcher, which looks like it's movement 4 of this album. I don't know. I'll figure that out in a second. Let's just dive into this for right now and see what Set to Stun is doing today. There's a lot of bass to this. Lots of cool back and forth there. Okay, yeah, definitely all over the place. Oh, a little bit of mathy syncopation in there. Almost like a 2010s pop rock, like anthemic drum part here. Keeping up with the harmonic information, but expanding back into the distortion. Oh, very Kobe. Synth up on the sides.
I've been through that. Close without saying that I'm never looking back. I'm not a righteous man, but I know where I've come from, and more importantly, where I long to be. Come into me. Haven't always been the man that you needed me to be. And maybe my iniquities imprisoned me initially, but I can see that I was free the moment you believed in me. And all who would they do if they know the truth? I still be nothing if I didn't have you. And give me purpose and hurt, but the hurt isn't worth all.
Nice moving harmonic ideas on the guitars off to the side. The layered vocals with the falsetto, nice touch.
Just shut the fuck up! Now let me show you what the fuck I'm coming your face. You wear some make shit when your mouth and mouth circles like a walkie-talkie hypocrite. Sick of this heretic, steady flexing arrogance. Can't all get to the calling cause your argument's embarrassing. Your strength and no resistance.
Yeah, it needed some double time here.
Need your opinion like a motherfucking holiday. Nothing you can say that ain't already been said. I'm a fool. I guess that's true, but Mr. Harry, tell me you're fucking full of you. Sadly, the formula for family that fostered such a wonderful epic of television
anticipation. brightness, though.
Principles that they were founded on. Somewhere along the lines, it's been distorted, likely laid to rest.
Now twisting it into intensity.
Few, present company included, who will forever hold in the highest regard that which was over that which is. For such decorum in the form of our fathers was written forever on the tablet of their hearts, where they'll shine like stars amidst the backdrop of blackness in this crooked and perverse generation. And through trials and tribulations, let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and wanting nothing.
The transformation of this guitar lick into a post-hardcore one is... it's wild. Now we're back to pop punk. So we had the weapon fire earlier, and there we have the shells clanking to the ground, the casings. The falsetto is killing me. The falsetto fits with the composition, but not the production. What is the vocal waver on the side voices? This was Kevin, right? Yeah, Kevin, I'm sorry. I know you wanted to know what's going on here. I don't know what's going on here. Well, I have, I have some thoughts that I'm sure they'll develop into stuff, and maybe at the end of this video, I'll feel happy with what analysis I've given, but right now, I'm probably just as lost as most people. This is a wild track, and I pulled up the album too. This comes off of their 2023 Valkyrie 1. This is how the album kicks off. This is track 1 on it. I think I want to listen to the rest of it. I generally like the post-hardcore sections, the pop punk, the pop rock. There's a lot of things in here that catch my attention and sounds that I typically enjoy. I'm not too big on the metalcore or deathcore moments of this track. There's some really gnarly stuff there at the end. But it's so eclectic, which I don't think is what I would normally call this. I would say that it's all generally punk related. it grabs so many different branches of non-traditional punk and smashes them together with a little sprinkling of metal. And sometimes we get a pure sound. Like we had a very straightforward pop punk sound in there at one time, but other times we're smashing ideas together. Sometimes production versus composition. Sometimes we're taking two compositional ideas and smashing those together. It's a bit all over the place. And as Kevin mentioned, yeah, it's a little messy. But I'm intrigued by it. There's 8 more tracks on this album. There's only one that even reaches this length. They have a 9-minute track. Everything else is like in the 4 to 5 minute range, more typical. I also noticed there's a lot of numbers on these tracks. This one's called 4, Death of a Dreamcatcher. There is a 5, Valkyrie 1 later on, but we also have a Staria 2, The Acolytes of Amadeus, and a Walk Tall 2, which interestingly is the only title on here not in all caps. It uses typical capitalization. I'm pretty intrigued by all of that. What does all that mean? I'm just, as an outsider to this artist, I have so many questions. And that's why I'm not too confident this is going to be some solid analysis, but let's dig into it. Let's see what's going on here. First thing that stands out to me, yeah, we got some harshes in here. We got some gnarly guitar riffs. We got some gnarly sounds. The drums are pretty intense. But I think what really stands out to me most within the first 20 seconds is the bass. Not necessarily the bass guitar, but just the bass in general. The low end of this track is massive. It almost gives the song a claustrophobic feeling, where normally I talk about the walls closing in, the compression coming from all sides, but this actually feels like we've raised the floor. Most songs have a full range in the vertical component, which is kind of impossible to talk about technically because there's 2 speakers. You have a left and a right. There's no verticality to that. But there's a lot of parts in production composition that can alter the perception of height in music. And here, with the low end being as large as it is, it feels like it fills up all of the space below it. And it's almost as if where we normally have all this range, I mean, it comes off the screen, it's all this range. Now we're working with this. It feels like the room of this song is so narrow, not necessarily in a width variant, which is normally what I talk about, but in a height variant. It's different. I can't say I've heard too many songs that sound like this. It almost feels like there's a constant half wall in front of me where I can see above it, but it's blocking my lower peripheral. But it's also quite dominant in the mix too. In fact, we had, I don't know if you could call it a solo guitar, but definitely a lead melody on a guitar within the first 30 seconds. And it was kind of drowned out by the size, the sheer space that the bass was taking up. And I think at this point it was the bass guitar, but it could also have been accented and embellished by the bass kick, maybe some low toms going on, maybe a low end synthesizer too. It's just a wall of sound that's taking up the bottom half of this entire track. It drowns out everything, and it actually becomes comedic in some places where it's atypical. Bass heavy metal, bass heavy metalcore, even bass heavy post-hardcore is common enough. But bass heavy pop punk is not. Bass heavy pop rock is not. These are more balanced to treble leaning genres. And listening to very catchy poppy vocal lines on top of punky drum parts and positive, overwhelmingly joyful or fun guitar riffs, and then this massive low end to it feels unwieldy. It feels wrong in a lot of ways. The spaciousness that I associate with these genres is missing, and this ends up feeling a bit clumsy because of that. It feels stuffy, not necessarily muffled, just lacking room, lacking space. It ends up being very claustrophobic. It's it's a wild idea, and I really thought that after the opening we would lose this, that maybe the production would shift with some of these sounds, and never did. That low end dominates every part of this track. When I end up checking out the album, I think this is going to be a make or break thing for me. I'm either going to acclimate to it and deal with it, or it's going to be something that impedes my enjoyment. I don't see it being something I end up enjoying because it's too much. And y'all know how much I love my balance. The next thing that I noticed was within the first minute or so, we had 3 distinct vocal styles. We kicked it off with 2 different harshes, which I'm counting as 1 when I say 3 distinct styles. But yeah, we do have some harshes at the beginning. They're layered. We get some counterpoint. We get some back and forth stuff going on. I don't remember if all that happened within the opening, but throughout the song, we do hear the vocals being quite playful, having multiple harsh styles at the same time, and doing some nice call and response with it. Not too long after that, we are rapping. Full on rapping. So many words. I'm intimidated before even looking at the lyrics, just hearing how many words are present on this track. I know the lyrical, pausing the video to look at the lyrics is going to take a bit of time to go through and understand, just because of the sheer density of words presented here. But it doesn't feel shoehorned in. It doesn't feel like the flow is fine. Well, what's a better way of saying it? Just fine, maybe. The rapped element actually sounds pretty good. There's nice switch-ups of flow. The rhythmic cadence is in flux. That matches different rhyming styles, rhyming schemes, different rhythmic flows. Some parts need to be worked within groups of, 3 or 4 phrases. Then at the end of it, we're just rapid fire running through syllables like crazy. But it's also delivered clearly as well. The enunciation is strong, the rhythmic flow is strong, and at least from what I could hear, there's interline rhyming too. We're not just looking at a rhyme every 8 words or something. The rhythmic and rhyming scheme work together in order to create something that feels like it just rolls off the tongue very naturally. We're not just looking at making the ends of sentences work well. The entire sentence feels smooth. And that's usually where I would put like a mid-tier rapper to like mid to high tier rapper. Definitely starting to get into the realm where it's beyond the basic poetic elements and moving into advanced poetry techniques. And I hear that here, which is pretty cool. Then we also have clean vocals later on in a track, and we get some chestier ones. We get mixed head and chest. We have some falsetto in there. There's this, at the very end, we have these lower range ones that come in, but they've got like a warble going on to them. I don't know what's up with that. That was an interesting technique. I don't know if that was acoustic or digitally warbled, but either way, a wild sound. And that's probably a good way to describe most of this track. Wild sounds. Anyways, the vocalist is just really good at doing all of this. Plenty of harsh styles, plenty of clean styles, and then rapping thrown in there with some good switch-ups. This vocalist really can do anything as far as I'm concerned, and if I'm listening to this album and they just pop out some operatic vocals, it's not even going to stun me. I'm going to be like, yeah, dude, okay, that's... why wouldn't I expect this from this vocalist? They seem to have fingers in many skill pies. That's a terrible metaphor, but I think it makes sense, right? Okay, moving on. Riffage, composition. It's kind of all over the place. There are plenty of sections in here where the bass just fills out the low end. The guitars give us chordal information, sometimes slower moving melodies so that there is some movement. It's not just pure chords, but we are looking primarily at harmonic or atmospheric ideas there. The drums take up a very stereotypical punky riff, something with a bit of syncopation on the bass kick and probably a 2 and 4 snare hit. And then the vocals give us some really catchy melodies. Yeah, there's plenty of sections like that, but there's also sections where the guitars go into lead riffs, sick, gnarly ideas. They got counterpoint. Guitars are harmonizing. There's noisy sections, 2 or 3 of them in here, where it's just about making the gnarliest dissonance and then amplifying that through distortion and overdrive, and that core sound right there. What do they call them? They call them like panic chords. Is that what they call them or something? Anxiety chords, something like that. There's plenty of that in here too. There's just absolutely filthy, gnarly sections where the low end just like a bomb going off, an earthquake, just rattling the low end while the vocalist is just growling these gnarly sounds, and everything in between too. Does it make sense to me? No, I see no pattern through any of this. After a first time listen, I could not tell you what the structure to this track is. It feels totally linear to me. Kevin did mention that there was callbacks, blends together interpolations of other songs. And so maybe from that perspective, this might be a type of a medley, pulling in parts from other songs and smashing them together into one overarching idea. Medleys can be jagged, absolutely. I prefer when a composer tries to find a way to merge medleys together a bit smoother, but it's honestly not a norm even within musical theater. So something like this being more metallic or even punky, where jagged elements are sort of a status quo for this style, it makes sense to do a medley that's a bit more jagged too. So I guess I can't say too much negative about that, but it is sort of a structureless song. It changes whenever it wants. There seems to be no rhyme or reason to why one section we stick with for 30 seconds and another we'll hang on to for a minute and a half or something like that. And the wild changes don't really seem to make much sense either. There are some nice harmonic ideas that stick around where we'll go from a light to a heavy, but we'll keep the chord progression, and that kind of helps it flow just a little bit better. But this track feels honestly just like 8 distinct ideas that just happen to be played within the same 7-minute span. Maybe it is a medley. Strictly speaking, it's designed to set up an overture for the rest of the album. If it is designed to be listened to as one unified idea, though, it doesn't come across as that. And I don't know. Part of me enjoys it for its eclectic novelty. Around every corner is something drastically different, and that can be fun on a first-time listen. I'm not sure if I would enjoy this listens in unless I knew the context for all of it. If it does pull from other tracks, knowing what those other tracks are adds to this. Knowing how the emotions or themes of this track pair with the emotions and themes that the next section comes from. That would be very cool if they went in that direction. But as far as explaining why this song does what it does, I've got nothing. It's all over the place. It's seemingly random. And I think just for me, what I find most out of it is the spectacle of it. The sheer width of skills on display, both compositionally and performative, where we get to hear and see all of these different skills played back to back to back to back to back. You get to hear the vocalist do all of these styles. You get to hear harmonized vocals. You get to hear all these different growls. You get to hear sick riffs and gnarly tones and beautiful harmonies and some catchy vocal runs and just, it's a lot of ideas that I like. They're just not really interwoven together. They're staggered. You get bits and pieces, and then when you're done with that, you get something else. And that can be fun. It can be interesting. I'm kind of curious if this track has longevity for me, though, which is a subjective thing. Some people will listen to this and maybe it's the only thing they like on the album. I don't know if something so disjointed would grab my attention, but if the rest of the tracks are more focused, and this one is a medley or an overture suite, I could see myself enjoying the variety on the album with hopefully more focused tracks. Let me dive into some lyrics for this. We'll see what's going on there. Kevin, dude, thank you so much for sending me this track. I will be checking out Valkyrie 1 from Set to Stun pretty much as soon as I'm done recording videos for today. If the rest of the album is lyrically like this and musically hopefully a little more focused but on the same wavelengths as this, I'm sold. This would have been an album of the year album for me if it can keep up at this level. There are 153 lines to the lyrics here, 1,337 words. We're talking pure leet writing here. This is incredibly dense. Luckily, it's also incredibly well written. It talks about someone who came from nothing, someone who had to fight for even a positive self-image, constantly being spoken down to from every direction, and yet, despite that, find themselves in a position to speak their truth to a larger audience. They find themselves in awe of being in this position, but don't take that kindly, or don't take that lightly, and use this as a way to put a megaphone up to ideas that they are passionate about. One being justice. It talks about them having dreams and losing them. It talks about this massive fight to get to where they are, and about the strength that they must have because they are in this position, that they have seen other people get to this point in their careers, in their crafts, in whatever they do, but it's always through, or that can be through, falsehoods and lacking passion, coming at it from more of a corporate agenda. All this person wants to do is see the world right. They want to see a world of empathy and of love and of passion and of art. And they are willing to fight for that with their weapon, which happens to be their voice. I was not expecting this at all, given the music, but it's, dude, it's so good. And there's probably more to it as well. There are quite a few stanzas where I got the gist of it, but maybe missed some underlying elements. And there's so much here. Like I said, almost 2,000 words. I'm not going to go through all of this. I've given you the gist of it, and I have no way of tying that main perspective and journey on this to the music, other than the fact that the music was also a journey. This might be one of those situations where the specific tone and atmosphere of each stanza informs the overall story, but it could also just be where the music is a smorgasbord of a lot of ideas, where the lyrics are a bit more refined and focused, not necessarily informing one another, just simply being present together simultaneously. But I do want to go over some really sick stanzas on this. I'm not even kidding you. There are times when I just read like 5, 6, 7 lines, and I was like, okay, I got to read this out loud. And I hear how it flows, and I walk away, because it's so well done, and it's impactful too. It's not just technically impressive, but it conveys a message as well. I urge any of you who are fans of lyrics in general, but also poetry, to definitely head on over to your favorite lyrics website and check these out. Read through them. This is really well done. We're going to start, though, on the second stanza. This talks about how his life wasn't necessarily what he thought it was going to be, that he had a dream in mind and found out that where he thought he was leading his life, he was actually not. He was a pawn in someone else's game. He says, "This isn't how I thought it panned out. Thought I had it planned out, only to find out now how confidence in hypocritical lyrical authorship was subject to the consequences of a compliment that fed the narcissist rage." He said that he thought he had confidence. He thought he believed in what he was saying, in the lyrical authorship, but it was hypocritical. He wasn't believing what he was actually saying. He said all that this did was feed into a narcissist rage. It just made him feel better. But it didn't actually convey anything. There wasn't any art to it. He says this was never about the author. I was only the page, and the letter to the hearts of men. I pleaded with the writer, and he made me a pen. And yet again and again I offend the penmen, pretending that my pretentious amendments would lead to anything less than repeated pain. Dude, it's so good. Because this is being taken down a peg. A narcissist thinking that they're so great, only to realize that they actually haven't been leading anything. They've been a follower this whole time. It not just cuts them because it isn't what they had planned, but it also offends them. Narcissists cannot view themselves as lesser than someone else. It's why so many narcissists play the victim role all the time, because it puts them in a sympathetic role, which gives them moral superiority over the others. And at this point, we have a narrator who has narcissistic tendencies and realizes that they haven't been in control at all this whole time. And he says that he tries to get a one-up on the person who's really pulling the strings. And every single time it fails to do anything of consequence. The situation never changes, but it's all stated through this metaphor of being a pen on someone else's page, of a different author here in control of this story. We have the rhyme that starts with, in a letter to the hearts of men. I plead with the writer, and he made me a pen. And yet again and again I offend the penmen. And here we already have the P's set up for the alliteration that's coming out of this rhyme scheme, because we have page from the sentence before, into penmen, pretending that my pretentious amendments will bring repeated pain. But within this, pretending and pretentious are also bringing in a 3-syllable movement. So we have pretending that my pretentious amendments would lead to anything less than repeated pain. It is so good on so many levels. And you can find this type of writing throughout this entire track. Rhythmic cadence, rhyme schemes, alliteration. It is interwoven so intricately throughout this. Oh my God, it's just so good, dude. Oh man, I gotta go back and listen to this again with the lyrics pulled up, because it's so good. I want to hear his cadences too, because I'm kind of injecting my rhythmic feel based on the syllabic stressors, but that might not exactly be how he's delivering it either. So I kind of want to hear the original with the lyrics pulled up. Now, he mentions that he's been given a pretty bad hand in life, and a lot of people gave him a lot of crap over his life. Maybe it's bullying, maybe it's just being talked down to. He says, and who would have known I'd have a voice like this to sing? And who knew that people would give a shit about the things that I have to say because I speak in a particular way? But the only thing strange to me is how evidently negligent the ethic of our etiquette is subject to the predicate of pretense. And I think that is awesome. First of all, the flow, the rhymes, the alliteration, all of that is excellent. But he also says that this is kind of an interesting power that I've come into. People like to listen to what I say when I sing it in a particular way. It's because of the cadence I say it in. It's because of the singing. It's because of the texture and timbre of my voice. It's because of my way with words. And yet people will listen to that, even if it doesn't make sense. He says it's evident that if we have negligent ethics, that people will listen to this. I think this is calling back to the beginning when he mentions that, some people just end up as pawns in other people's games where they think that they're leading, but they're not. And I think this is one of those where maybe at one point in time, our narrator wasn't necessarily on the up and up. They weren't coming at this skill as a singer and a lyricist from a place of passion. It might have been more of a financial thing, right? Singing's paying the bills. I'll sing whatever people want to hear. And because I'm singing it in a cool way, because I got these growls, because I got these good hooks, people are paying attention to it, whether there's substance to it or not. He says it's kind of wild how all of this works together. It's almost siren-like. What I'm saying means less than how I'm saying it, but what I'm saying is still being ingrained into people's thoughts. He says it's not the poetry it pretends to be when these makeshift wordsmiths wield such words irresponsibly. They want something for nothing. They want blood out, but no blood in love with the dream and what it means, but not the coffin that it comes in. So good. This is where it starts to turn. And he's like, I come at this from a place of passion. I have things I need to say. I have things I need to get off my chest. I will deliver it, but not everyone's like that. Some people just want to be popular. They want to be a big vocalist. They want to be a big singer. They want to be a popular artist. But they don't want to put the work in. They want to achieve the dream without any of the negative elements of it. They don't want to put the work into it. They don't want to allow the dream to come crashing down. They just want the victory of it. So they don't actually care about the singing. They care about the popularity. They care about becoming a superstar. But I like how he talks about dreams coming in coffins. I think that's really interesting because most people's dreams don't survive. When you talk about artists, particularly even, but I mean, you can talk about anything. You can take this into the realms of, a general career. You want to go into programming or electronics or medicine or whatever. Not every single person who goes and gets their degree ends up in their field. Not every single person who makes an album ends up being a star. In fact, especially in the realm of music, the odds are stacked way against you. Like less than 1% of people who make music end up becoming household names. They want the reward without the risk, is what he's saying. And dude, this is like, it's wild because part of it is a hit piece. It's a song that tries to take down the fakers in the industry, while also amping himself up. Not a hit. What do they call it in rap? Like a takedown song. A diss track. There we go. It's just not focused on any one person. It's kind of focused on a general elements of the music industry. But I feel like there's also some interesting parts to it too that deviates a little bit from that. Particularly the very last line mentions well, you can't. There's a good part, a good chunk of the middle that talks about his upbringing and people who have spoken down to him and some of the verbal abuse that he's had throughout his life that's kind of, I don't know, made him less sure of himself, less sure that he belongs in this situation with the megaphone that he does. But he says, so take your best shot. What are you waiting for? Your mouth is cashing checks that your body can't afford. If you don't mind, I'm barely hanging on to my life. I'm barely hanging on to the light. So let them keep singing peace when there ain't none, and let them feast of the flesh of their daughters and sons. Set your words in my mouth like fire, and let it consume the feeble people like wood. The fires of justice can neither be tempered nor controlled. A million bridges will burn in pursuit of finding the truth. Bring me those fucking pigs and kill them all. It is, at least to me, it seems like it's setting up the themes for this album. At least that's what I'm hoping for. That a lot of this is saying that the situations for art is not always from an artistic position. And that the vocalist here, or maybe the narrator, I don't know if this is like a concept album, I don't know what's going on here. But the idea is that they've been put in a position. They're not going to take it for granted. They know other people are in this position with ill intent, or even maybe they're just apathetic to the weight and influence that they have, but that our narrator here isn't going to waste it. They have passions. They're prideful of what they're going to talk about. They believe in justice. They believe in equality. They believe in ensuring that empathy, goodwill, and truth come to light to destroy that which it isn't, where it isn't. And I think that's setting up the themes for the rest of the track, where maybe we get away from this frame concept here and we focus more on the ideas that are important to our narrator. At least that's what I get out of it. Like I said, there's almost 2,000 words. It's possible I'm missing some stuff here. But dang, dude, this is wild. I'm here for it. This is my kind of stuff. The music's a little disjointed. Like I said, I'd like a little more focus, but generally speaking, I like the sounds they're playing with. And the lyrics are just, so tasty. These are my thoughts, though. Set to Stun 4, Death of a Dreamcatcher. I don't know if that's chapter 4, movement 4. I don't see a chapter 3, so y'all let me know what's going on with that. Maybe this follows up from some previous tracks on a different album. What are your thoughts on this, though? Did you enjoy this? Is there anything that stood out to you? Anything that you'd like to add on to what I said or correct me on if I misspoke about something? What's your take? What's your opinion on this? Did you read the lyrics? Are you as gobsmacked? Gobsmacked? I think it's gobsmacked, but I like gabsmacked, as I am. What is gabsmacked? My gab has been smocked. Yeah, what did you think of this? Put your thoughts down into the comment section below. Above that, in the description box, is a link to Linktree. Takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all 3 of those. That wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.